welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is 1/15/19, halfway through the month, just about. Where did it go? Hey, but the insanity continues. Markets, people, states going crazy, the liberal left going crazy, the liberal right trying to keep up with them. Hey, as always, we invite you to be a part of the show. The email address, kl@kerrylutz.com. Well, someone we haven't had on for a while who can help shed some light on the current insanity and perhaps even help you to avoid the negative effects of it. I'm talking about Martin Armstrong, ArmstrongEconomics.com. Martin, you really need no introductions when you get down to it. Hey, we've been watching the market. Is this a bear market or is this just a correction?
No, it's just a correction. It is amazing to me that, people, you get a lot of these analysts say, the stock market's going to call, 50, 60%. In doing so, when markets used to do that, you had the flight to quality. You ran the government bonds. The problem today is, one, besides interest rates being extremely low, it's governments that's in trouble. So, you get a correction in the stock market, and then people start scratching their head and go, well, where do I go? I don't know what to do. Things are changing, and they don't quite get it. You've had central banks buying stocks because effectively they need diversification. And there's just not enough currency around. There's too many risks with Europe, et cetera. You got, people, they talk about, the United States, the dollar is going to crash, the debt is so crazy. U.S. debt relative to GDP, you're talking, really peanuts. If you look at Japan, it's 120% of their GDP. And Switzerland is number 2. The United States is actually the best position of all of them. We actually have an economy. The problem with Germany and et cetera, they have all developed with economies based upon export. And because they were counting on American citizens being the biggest consumer market in the world. And if Americans don't buy, they're completely dead. So you have a recession, for example, already starting in the auto industry. You're seeing, and it's here in the U.S. as well. But in Germany, its lifeblood is selling cars to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And they're clearly in a recession. And this whole Brit exit argument is really insane. You have Brussels just trying to retain power, trying to punish Britain for leaving, but Britain is Germany's largest export market in Europe, and without Britain, Germany falls. So everything is just really, it is insane. We've pushed the envelope to the extreme, and it's starting to pop, and that's basically the problem.
Mm-hmm. So you think, as far as what's going on here, but what about the debt in the U.S., the states that are getting close to collapsing? What about all of that? Are we in danger here?
The debt that is in problem, is the real crisis, is at the state and local level. They can't essentially, create money. The feds can. All right, so it's a completely different scenario. The states can go bankrupt. And so you have to understand that state and municipal debt is significantly different than federal level debt. And that's not just the United States, that's Europe, that's everywhere. So the problem we have with the debt cycle is that it's going to pop, mainly because the idea that we've had since World War II of socialism sounded wonderful. Vote for me and I'll give you this. I'll take it from that guy. And it's run its course. All right. Look at California. Now they want to tax water. Yeah. They just keep looking for things to add taxes to because the system doesn't, it's inevitably going to collapse. All they're doing, and I can tell you around the world, when I have to meet with governments, etc., their whole objective is, what do I have to do to survive today?
Yeah.
What about 10 years from now? Look, I might not even be here. That's not my problem.
Hopefully I won't, right? Hopefully I'll be retired on my mansion in the Riviera.
This is the issue. I mean, so, this is how you see France going into protests, etc. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Society is passive-aggressive. We take it, we take it, we take it. And then all of a sudden, something pops. You've crossed that magic line, and everybody says, that's it. I'm like the old movie, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, And that's what happens. It just snaps. And we are pushing it to that level in the state area. I mean, New Jersey, which I left, is now the number one state people are leaving from. And I warn my family up there, it's like, well, it's okay right now. But when you finally realize this is it and you have to leave, who are you going to sell your house to? Because everybody's leaving.
That's
right?
why I left early. I got out early 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening in Illinois. I mean, California is it's a basket case, a complete basket case. You have the liberal mentality there, which is completely insane. And, I mean, you have tent cities from all the illegal aliens coming across the border. I mean, in Venice Beach, they're calling it the battle for Venice Beach now. I mean, you have all these people living in cardboard huts and things. I mean, they keep bashing Trump over this wall. But, okay, fine. Let them all in. You now have laws that say it's illegal for an employer to hire somebody who's not an American. And if the employer doesn't, he goes to jail. Where are these people supposed to get jobs? All right? And nobody looks at the thousands of laws elsewhere. I mean, in our company, we have to have a file that we check to make sure the person is legally here, and we then have to take taxes out. Yes, okay, fine. What is their Social Security number? I mean, I have people working from overseas. I mean, what I have to go through just for them to come here. It's like, well, maybe they're taking cash back for you, I said, do people realize you passed FACTA? All right, an American can't even have an account outside the country. I mean, it's just insane. And I have to explain why I need somebody from Switzerland over here. Why can't I hire an American? Because he's been working for me for 7 years over there, and he already knows what's going on, all right?
Yes.
It's insane. It really is insane. And one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. Mm-hmm. And, you really have to understand that this is a total crisis. And all the Democrats are doing is basically whatever Trump says, they have to say the opposite. That's it. Right. I mean, you do have Schumer, before Trump said he wanted to do a wall, saying we needed a wall. Mm-hmm. Because this, that's basically true. I mean, you got to stop the drug traffic, all the sex trade that's coming across. It's really nuts. It really is nuts. But I mean, if you want terrorists to come into the country, fine. Just go over there and walk across the border.
Yeah, it seems that easy.
You don't have all the other laws that is like, we're being very harsh on these people, and others saying, Trump's a racist. Well, Mexican isn't a race any more than American is, but they just love throwing out labels. But the net bottom line here is we're demonstrating to the world that government no longer functions. All right. It's just about we have to bash this side so we win in 2020. And there's nobody really running anything. Mm-hmm. So it's a complete mess. The confidence level in government is declining globally. And that is critical because once that happens, then they don't sell their debt.
Yes.
You have Europe already talking about creating a Eurobond because they know what's going to happen here. They can't stop this quantitative easing. If they do, then the interest rates have to go up dramatically. No institution's going to buy Italian debt at 1.5% for 10 years. They need 8% to break even.
Mm-hmm.
The ECB and Bank of Japan, both of them have continued this quantitative easing. And, the Bank of Japan even bragged. It's, we bought 97% of the auction. That's good. They don't even understand it. You're the only one buying your own debt at these absurd low levels.
Yes.
And so you can't sell it. The governments are going bankrupt.
So
this is why the quantitative easing in the ECB is a complete disaster. They've destroyed the bond markets over there entirely. I just did a movie in one segment for somebody there in Germany on this issue. I finally got 3, maybe 4 bond dealers who have just left the banks and retiring. And the biggest problem is I say a lot of this stuff, and then everybody says, oh, gee, you're the only one that says it. Because I am the one working at that level. And all the rest of them, basically, they go, oh, gee, I wish I could say what you say. I said, well, it'd be nice if somebody else would join me, But they sign confidentiality agreements with these banks. They can't come out and say, look, the euro's really bad, it's going to crash. And they work for Deutsche Bank. ECB is going to be on the phone and say, fire that guy. So I at least now have a few guys have just retired. They've agreed to appear in a documentary film explaining what I'm saying. And they say, yes, look, I worked in the bond desks at such and such bank for, 5 years. This is what's happening. They've completely destroyed the market. So it is beyond what people believe. And they, domestically, you have all these people, the United States, that we are in the best position in the world. They have no idea what's going on outside the country, and it's a complete disaster. This economic theory of austerity that has been imposed by Germany has created, they call it the lost generation for the youth. You have unemployment among some of the youth in Southern Europe. It's 60%. The Great Depression here was 25.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Socially, this has been a complete disaster. And people don't realize when the Fed was originally created, the theory of elastic money was correct. It was used privately since 1850. You can go on eBay and buy clearing certificate, notes and currency, etc. They would issue this, and then it would automatically be redeemed, all right, because there was a shortage in money. And the Fed was originally designed with that. So its quantitative easing to help in a recession made sense. But it bought corporate paper, not government.
Correct.
So it would buy 90-day paper, and the corporation would have to basically, okay, fine, redeem it. That would be it. When World War II came, the politicians went to the Fed and said, okay, you're no longer going to do that. You're going to buy our debt. And, of course, government never pays it back. They just keep rolling it. So, when you look at what they've done to the Federal Reserve, they put in law after law after law for each crisis, and it is nowhere close to a central bank that anybody would ever set up today. Today they can take over anything that says that they determine is too big to fail, which could be McDonald's.
Yeah.
And no longer even has to be a bank. So it's beyond all description of whatever anything is supposed to have been. And because every law a politician passes, they never rescind it.
Yeah.
Crazy laws. New Jersey, they had a law that when cars were first starting, if you're driving down the road and your car frightened a horse, you had to pull off to the side. If the horse was still frightened, you had to disassemble it.
Yeah.
Okay, enforce that one, please. But they don't get rid of these laws. They just don't. No. They don't enforce them, but they're still there.
Mm-hmm.
Adultery is a criminal act.
Right.
In many states, they don't enforce it, but an awful lot of people could be in jail.
Yeah, half the population. So anyway, so you're still sticking to like Dow 40 something thousand, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to understand is that we are at this crossroads, which I think comes into play by the end of the year. And at that stage in the game, just ask yourself a sensible question. I mean, if governments are the problem, would you want to own any government debt? and the amount of money in debt versus equity, all right, it's at least 10 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not even talking about everybody moving to equity. We're talking about it's not even going to take that much. It's a small fraction of people go, wait a minute, this is not really very good. But, I mean, as I said, the Democrats will oppose whatever Trump has to say, good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. This is what politics has come down to. It's no longer running the country. It's we got to beat them. Mm-hmm. And so it's effectively you're undermining the confidence in government itself. And that's going to be reflected in the bond markets, et cetera. And the only place to go is going to be basically the private sector. And the most liquid, will be, really stocks. That's it, that you can actually travel with or transport to another country, at least right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, gold used to be that way, but I mean, honestly, you can't hop on a plane with a suitcase full of gold and try and get out of the country. Good luck. It's and you can't do it with cash. There was a guy up there, and I think it was Philadelphia, was trying to leave with $50,000 in cash. They confiscated it.
Right. Yeah, that's what they do. That's what the government does.
In Italy, there was a guy on a train going to Switzerland. He had something like around $60-70 million worth of bonds. They found it. They confiscated it. This is what's going on. They're hunting money like unbelievable. And just questioning, I just had an employee come over from Ukraine, and they had a 5-year visa to the country. They come here, go back and forth, etc. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, why do you come often? Well, I work for this company. Well, what are you doing? Transporting money? I mean, it's like, what? There is, if you have a business outside the country, it can't be legitimate. It must be a hide money. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we have our conferences here in Orlando. We have 37 countries attending. I mean, we are servicing over 90 countries around the world. And hello, I can't even have a bank account out of the country.
Yeah, I know. It's
but
amazing.
It's crazy. The whole thing is just crazy, and so the stock market has got really nowhere to go but up on a longer term basis. We're looking at probably not really peaking out. I mean, there's going to be oscillations, little corrections back and forth, but the ultimate peak you're probably looking around 2032. Yeah.
Really?
But you have to really understand that when confidence in government drops, if you just look at gold in the stock market from 1975, 76, they both went up together.
Right.
But all these people that keep preaching, gold and everything else is going to crash. I mean, that didn't even happen going into 1980. Mm-hmm. The stock market went from about 600 on the Dow up to 1,000 in 1980. I mean, they don't do the research. They don't really understand the global economy, and it's nice. I mean, some people will use gold, but look, everybody uses something different. The problem with real estate tends to be it's not movable.
Right.
So the government can be raising taxes, and as you'll see, I mean, we all need a house to live in, but as far as liquid, it's not a liquid asset. So you have to kind of be careful. I mean, you can have a house that's worth $5 billion, but if you got zero cash in the bank, how are you going to eat next week?
Yeah.
So you really have to understand it. The liquidity is critical, and gold will probably be more of the underground economy. But I tend to think, if you're looking at really a economic crisis going forward, you probably should be looking at silver coins or something like that would be small enough for small transactions, but recognized by pretty much anybody. Whereas, people have shown those YouTube videos where they offer him a chocolate bar and his bar is silver and they take the chocolate.
Right.
It's not familiar to the average person.
Oh, we know that. So a quarter in silver, and they can look at the date. Oh, okay, fine. So before 1965, yeah, I hear these are worth 10 times more. That would be more plausible. But the other thing you have to realize what's coming is, you have the IMF pitching that countries should create their own cryptocurrencies. And the reason for this is exactly opposite of what everybody was saying. Oh, buy Bitcoin. It's just going to circumvent the central banks and all this other kind of nonsense, which is completely bogus. Governments will never allow them to be undermined like that, and they got tanks and the guns and the weapons to come in and just do whatever they need to do. But by governments setting up their own cryptocurrencies and eliminating physical cash, they're pitching it in one way. Oh, this will eliminate crime. Yeah.
Fine, perhaps. But to some degree, you're not going to eliminate it. You can use it for barter or whatever. What's the real reason? The real reason is they know, particularly in Europe, that they have a crisis in banking. If you eliminate the physical cash, all right, you can't run on a bank. You can't run over there and say, okay, fine, give me, I want to get in line and get my money. You're going to have to take a, USB stick or a CD-ROM and say, here, please, put it on there, please.
Yeah. Does you a lot of good. So
yeah, and it's not. So they're looking more at, one, preventing any kind of people from taking money out of the banks, etc. And you see that going on in France. You have the yellow vest telling everybody withdraw their money out of the banks to put pressure on Macron. If you eliminate paper currency, you can't do that. And I wonder if those advocating to do that right now in France are not working undercover to make that as an excuse. See, this is what happened to France. We have to eliminate all paper currency. But plus the next level that is that the way they look at this is, I just need some more to pay the bills for tomorrow. And so they really feel, and I've been in meetings on this, and to my astonishment, they really think if everybody paid every penny of tax, if they found $1 on the parking lot and said, oh, okay, fine, government, here's your 50%, then there would be no problem. This is how they actually view it. They do never see themselves as the problem. So, it's always you.
So two things here. Number one, so gold, what's it going to be doing in the short to intermediate and long term? Does it make sense to be buying it now or just holding it, or what do you do?
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
To get part 2 of Carrie's exclusive interview with the legendary Martin Armstrong, go to www.financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for the mailing list now.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.